What's up, YouTube? Hope everyone is having a fan-freaking-tastic day. Today we got another episode of Real Talk with Coach Cory, where I go over your hard-hitting questions. And as always, I'll try to not answer stuff that was in previous episodes. There's some burning questions you had that aren't answered. They're probably in some previous episodes. Go check them out. Also, quick channel update, guys. I'm trying to post a lot more short-form content on my TikTok and Instagram. No, not like cringy dances or stuff, although some of you might want to see that. But really, it's just going to be like memes and gameplay. So if you like that, which I'm assuming you do since you watch this channel, you should check it out. How do I feel about the state of Brawl Stars? What would I like to see added so I can continue making content on this game? I feel like overall the state of Brawl Stars is in quite a good spot. I think the game is really, really polished. I'm going to be interested to see how this next year from here on out goes, because one thing I do think Brawl Stars is running into as far as problems is now they have so much variety of content. It's going to be hard for them to keep on adding new content and not have it be overwhelming. I mean, right now, there's already so many different choices for you to play in game, not only as far as maps for every game mode, but of course there's the creative version as well. Then there's the competitive power league, and there's even special events going on that are rotating. But of course also the seasonal events too that come in, every couple months. And I mean, of course we're expecting some sort of club update or club feature, club battle, club something coming soon. So that's another thing coming that you're gonna have to choose whether you want to invest time into that or one of the other 5 to 10 choices that you might have. I mean, honestly, I feel like Brawl Stars is starting to get to the point of where Clash Royale has been recently, where they've had a really good game and they've developed it for a couple years, and now the game is very polished and maybe there's not as many things you can keep on adding. I'm not saying Brawl Stars won't find ways to surprise us, because I think Brawl Stars has one of the best dev teams, if not the best dev team at Supercell, and I do have a lot of faith in them, and they've done a great job. They deserve that faith. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to run into challenges as far as how much more can they keep improving the game. I mean, I do think it's at a relatively healthy spot. As far as what would I like to see added to keep making content, I think the thing I want the most, and I've said this before, I really want to be able to copy those creative custom maps. That way I don't have to spend 30 minutes, trying to make one for a 10-minute or 5-minute parts of a gameplay video. If I can just copy them, I can do so many more of those videos, and not only just me, but other creators as well. I think it would really boost the longevity of creating creative gameplay content, because that is definitely the most important part of creating content on Brawl Stars. Even though I don't really do it that much, obviously gameplay is the most important thing in Brawl Stars because it's a game. So you need to be able to create a lot of content on it, and allowing that would definitely help. I'm assuming the reason they haven't done this is because then the entry slots would get flooded with copies, even though they already are to a degree. So they must be trying to find a way around that, or I'm not sure if they think they can do it or not. Who knows? How do I think a game mode maker would be implemented in Brawl Stars? I mean, honestly, I'm not entirely sure how you would create totally brand new game modes that have never been in Brawl Stars. I mean, I guess you have to allow people to have access to all of the custom objects in Brawl Stars, and then also allow them to change them. You give them the volleyball or the basketball, whatever, they're all the same ball. You just put a different custom file over it so it looks different, and then you can create different rules for the game. But I mean, it definitely starts to get really, really tricky for a mobile game to be able to do all of these things. I mean, you might have to allowing people to have access to the files, and then they do it on their computer. They make these really crazy custom changes, and then they bring it back into Brawl Stars possibly, and then you can play it in a friendly battle. I'm not entirely sure, but that would definitely be a complex process. Were there any signs as a kid that I might become a gamer for a living? And do I have any pets or plans to get any? Did my girlfriend ask you to ask the second question there? All right, first off, signs as a kid that I was going to be a gamer for a living. I mean, let's be real. There are a lot of kids who play way too many video games. I was obviously one of those kids, right? Now, is that ever necessarily a good sign? I'm not really sure, because it usually is a detrimental impact on your grades in school and maybe your social life. Although, of course, you can play a lot of games with your friends, so not always. But, I mean, I don't ever think usually that sort of stuff is taken as like a good sign, like, wow, my kid's gonna be a pro one day. You know what? Maybe parents are starting to think that actually. I'm not sure. There could be some out there, but times are definitely changing. But no, it was never usually seen as a positive thing. Do I have any plans to get pets? I do want to get a dog one day for sure. I used to have a dog when I was a kid. But I do want to get a dog one day. I want to have a yard though, so I can more ably take care of them. I don't really have one, and I live in a city, so I think it would be better to have a space for them to play around, run, you know, do the stuff that dogs need to do. What is going to happen to the CCCC Club when the amount of people in the club changes to 30? I think I'm going to make a second club at minimum because I have 2 accounts, so my mini will be the leader of the second club. We could make a third club if enough people want, but, you know, it is a club like for a content creator, and if the content creator isn't in the club, I don't know how much sense it makes to have that club. I mean, I know sometimes content creators have like feeder clubs, so we could do that. It just depends if enough people want it. Am I gonna make content in other games like Clash Mini or Clash Heroes or Clash Quest when they come out globally? Actually, I'll say even this, even in beta, I actually wanna make content for both Clash Mini and Clash Heroes. Although the one thing I'm not sure about is they might not be on this channel. It might be on my second channel, my more gameplay-oriented channel. That would probably make sense as long as they're in beta. And who knows, if it goes well, maybe that'll even be like a channel for them. But I actually really like both Clash Mini and Clash Heroes. Both those games are really fun. I'm super excited for them. I have no idea what sort of timeline they're on, so I don't know when I'll be able to make content on those games, but I definitely want to make content on for sure Clash Mini and maybe also Clash Heroes, depending on how easy it is to make content for both games. What is my favorite mode? Do I have any tips for the modes? Sorry, this has been asked in previous episodes. You know, it's probably been asked, but I actually like answering this question sometimes. Duo Showdown is my favorite mode, although these days it might actually be Showdown Plus. I've been definitely playing that more because it's faster paced and kind of more fun, but I'll give you a tip for Duo Showdown. I think the most important thing is honestly to be aware of your surroundings. A lot of teams will see something that, you know, maybe they can get a couple power cubes, there's a situation that looks good, but then they don't realize that there's another team coming in, or maybe that it puts them in between 2 other teams. And a lot of times that spells doom. Even if you're able to kill one of those teams, you're still gonna end up losing. So you need to be really aware of your surroundings and know that sometimes it's better to just get better positioning and try to force one team into another than to try to take on too many opponents. Who's a brawler I'm bad at but like playing? Ooh. Honestly, it's probably like Mortis. I don't feel like I'm that great of a Mortis player. I mean, maybe average or whatever, but I actually feel like Mortis is a really satisfying brawler to play. I end up playing him a lot of times on maps. I mean, like, I'll play him in Showdown, but like there's so many assassins in Showdown that counter Mortis tends to be a not good pick, but he's just like a satisfying brawler to play. If you get that solo kill and these days you heal up, you get rewarded for it. It feels nice. Do I think that Brawl Stars views is slowly getting lower, and am I planning to change content to a different game? At the moment, views for Brawl Stars is down right now, but I will say that's pretty typical. Views for Brawl Stars and other games tends to be a little bit seasonal, especially for Brawl Stars and other Supercell games. You know, a lot of their employees take vacation around the same time. So Brawl Stars devs have their summer break. So the content in Brawl Stars has been lacking compared to normal for the past at least 3 months, 2 months. So obviously because of there being less exciting content, there's gonna be less people playing the game and less people watching YouTube. So views in general are gonna be down. And I also know if part of that is related to summer and kids going on vacation or people being outside, being away from the screen, as opposed to in winter when everyone's forced to be inside more so than not. So that could be part of it as well. And am I planning to change content? No, not at all. But like I said, a different question. I will probably cover some Clash Mini and Clash Heroes because they both seem really fun in the Supercell games. Do I think Brawl Stars is pay to win? Overall, the answer is no, I don't think so, because I think overall it can be more of a team-based and strategy-based game. Although if you have all your brawlers sitting at like power 1 to like power 4, you're gonna notice a really big difference, and it's gonna be a super different gameplay style. But once you start getting them to around power 7, power 8, I really think the discrepancy is not that much at all. And actually the cost of getting a brawler to power 7 is only 1/3 of the total cost to max out that brawler as far as coins and power points is concerned. So really because of that, I think Brawl Stars is quite free to play friendly. Although, if you're trying to push really high trophies, you are definitely going to notice that difference. And of course, it will matter whether you have all those gadgets and star powers. All right, question from Silver Dragon. Do I think the game is getting oversaturated with too many new brawlers, and is it sustainable for Brawl Stars in the long run? I do think this is a very relevant topic, especially as we're over 50 brawlers now, and I do think their goal is to get at least close to 100, if not over that. And I definitely think there's a lot of brawlers in Brawl Stars that have very similar gameplay styles. I mean, hence, for example, why they had to do a balance change to Brock, because this is a problem that they're thinking about as well, how they need to keep brawlers unique enough as they add more and more brawlers. And honestly, I think my answer for this is that for the most part, and for most players, it'll be fine. But the problem I have with Brawl Stars adding a ton of brawlers is the way they do the matchmaking and trophy system. I mean, in general, Brawl Stars wants you to play a large variety of brawlers. They don't want you, unlike in other MOBAs, where you can main just a couple brawlers, or sorry, a couple champions. You know, maybe you only play a specific type of champion, like Assassin or Mage or whatever it is, you know, for various different games. In Brawl Stars, they really want you to play every single brawler. They want you to push up your overall trophies. Of course, the trophy loss in games can get worse and worse the higher up in trophies. I mean, if I had to be honest, the one thing I really don't like about Brawl Stars matchmaking is that it does force the players to become a good all-around type of player. Like, you're not necessarily going to be amazing at any one brawler, but you probably have played every single brawler a decent amount. And what ends up happening is you end up with teammates who aren't very good at any of the brawlers they're playing, even if they have that general Brawl Stars knowledge. And of course, as you get more and more brawlers, it's going to happen more and more and more. People are just going to be becoming even more mediocre with all of those brawlers. Maybe they'll gain some general Brawl Stars knowledge, but they're just going to be auto-aiming. They're not going to be dodging well. They're not going to be learning all the little things that you learn as you become more proficient by only playing a select amount of champions or brawlers. And that, I do think, is the biggest problem that Brawl Stars has. But as I said, for most people, that's probably not an issue. I mean, if you're just playing casually, who really cares if you're amazing with any particular champion or if your teammates are either, I guess. Do I ever miss OG Brawl Stars, like Season 1 or 2, or even before that, like when only 25 brawlers and gadgets didn't exist yet? I will say the one thing I do sometimes find annoying is you end up playing a lot of Brawl Stars, right? Maybe you start out, everyone starts at lower trophies, and the opponents you face don't have gadgets a lot of the times. Maybe they have star powers, but you don't ever know if they have a gadget, for example. Well, that's sort of my pet peeve I have, is that I often, a lot of times, end up forgetting sometimes to calculate whether they have that gadget or not, because you end up so often facing people who don't have the gadget, and there's no indication of whether they have the gadget or how many uses they have. So gadgets to me are sometimes annoying. On top of, you know, there also being two options, so you don't know which gadget they have. It really makes it hard to know how to react to that enemy you're facing, because you don't know what gadget they have, how many uses they have, etc., you know? So I do miss that simplicity where I did used to always know what I was going into when I saw that enemy, but now you really don't, and you just kind of have to play ambiguously and pretend that they might or might not have something. I mean, and honestly, it's not like a big complaint, but it's more of a pet peeve. Do I feel like Brawl Stars has too many competitive game modes with Power League, tournaments, and ladder? I don't think so. First of all, one, I don't think ladder is remotely competitive. I think trophies is not at all an indication of skill, except maybe at the very, very top. But even these days, a lot of top players are pushing in Showdown Plus. And trophies are even more meaningless today than they ever were before in Brawl Stars. So no to that regard. Tournaments, I think, are fantastic. Power League, I think, is pretty good. I think the problem with competitive stuff in Brawl Stars, even though Brawl Stars has a really high potential for competitive play, it's actually a really deep game. There's a lot of strategy, I think, in Brawl Stars. And I think you see that at the esports level. The problem is the matchmaking for those competitive modes in Brawl Stars, I'm going to be honest, is flat out not very good. I mean, here I was, for example, 10-0 in the Championship Challenge, and I'm getting 5,000 trophy teammates for both of my teammates. I mean, that just sort of stuff shouldn't be happening. Well, anyways, the matchmaking in both that and even in Power League to a much smaller degree is not at a high enough level, I think. But to be frank, I honestly think the best part about Brawl Stars is the variety they have. They have their competitive stuff, they have the normal ladder stuff with a bunch of different types of game modes and maps. You can play what you like, and they also have the more casual, fun, crazy stuff with the custom maps. My thoughts on Showdown Plus, I think they should make it so you lose 0 for dying and gain 1 for a kill. My thoughts on Showdown Plus in general, I actually think it's a really good idea. I think when it was +1 trophy and -1 trophy for dying, it was not close to being good enough. I found after about a week and a half, around 800, 700 trophies, there was a lot of teaming. I mean, like a ton. Like, it would vary by the game, but some games you'd have 5 people teaming up in Showdown Plus. I mean, like, everyone knew the point of the mode is to stop teaming, or most people did, and of course people just don't care. You tell people to do something, they're gonna do the opposite, just how it is. So I do think the +2 is a really good change, and I definitely think it's helped out, and in general, I like Showdown Plus a lot more than I like normal solo Showdown. So I do think overall, it's a good mode. I am worried a little bit about how really skilled players can just push their trophies crazy fast now in Showdown Plus, especially with any new brawler. You know, it's just a lot easier. Although I'm not entirely sure how big of an issue that is, because I assume that applies more so only to the skilled players, and everyone else is, you know, also getting caught up in the losing more trophies when they die as well. So maybe it's not an issue. Just like Ghost Killer says, he wants to remove the trophies for when you die. But this is a bit of a nonsensical argument for me, because at that point, if you do that, you're just inflating the trophy gain in that mode, and it kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, this is meant to balance the trophy gain, so it's not just crazy higher. So if you wanted to do that, you would also need to lower the amount of trophies you get for every single placement by about 1 trophy, I guess. Don't I think Showdown Plus makes it so easy to win trophies? You can easily get rank 35s by playing Showdown Plus. I do think this is the biggest potential issue with this mode, and I'm really curious to know how the devs feel about it, because Showdown Plus in general, especially with the +2 now, definitely reduces teaming by a lot, in my opinion, compared to normal Showdown. I'm sure it still occurs a lot at the crazy high trophies, but it's definitely a lot more incentivized to backstab, and overall it's a much better gameplay. But if there were anything to make Showdown Plus fail or not be permanent in Brawl Stars, it would probably be this. So we'll have to see how the devs think about it. All right, this was more of a shorter episode, so if you have extra questions, put them down below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Thanks so much for watching this, though. If you want to check out more Real Talk with Coach Cory, it's right over there. I'll catch you later. Peace.